So just in order to raise the temperature a bit above this dangerously sort of ironic war, there's a lot of cross-cutting connections between all these. I want to say positivism is redundant. There really is no point whatsoever in casting myself as a positivist. All the positivism that one could want is in the tradition. There's no point, there's no reason to react against the tradition. You may find some stray modern people who are reacting against positivism and who say things that seem to make positivism keep worth claiming. But in the tradition against which positivism reacted, I think there is all the positivity and the devotion to positivity and devotion to clarity that you want.
I'm not sure how we can't avoid getting our philosophy and our history of ideas in a tangle, because it's not really essential to there being some interesting propositions that we can put the brand name legal positivism on. Even one interesting proposition, that Bentham should have been reacting to some mistake that's anti-positivist. I mean, Bentham reacted mostly to confused and befuddled reactionary thinking about a bunch of topics, what he regarded as reactionary, including the way that common law judges went on. And the main fish he had to fry in his work on law in general, including all laws in general, was to show that the judges were playing fast and loose. And in the process of doing that, he wasn't fighting against Aquinas when he said this, but in the course of doing this, he unearthed something true and important, namely that laws are made by human beings and there's no law that isn't humanly made. In the sense in which law interests us, in the sense in which the common law is part of the law, and in the sense in which a theory of law ought to be a theory of law. There's no law that isn't humanly made. Now, at the time, I doubt whether anybody explicitly had engaged with this thought. I think Aquinas had engaged with it once before and had come down on the side of it. Although he'd used the word natural law to describe a law that was made by human beings qua human, which is a very interesting idea. But leaving that on one side, I don't think anybody was debating that topic. They were debating the topic of what common law judges ought to do. And for some reason, people keep trying to bring everything back to that. I mean, some of the people that Matt was gesturing towards as genuine opponents of legal positivism are opponents of legal positivism because they associate legal positivism with a certain doctrine about how judges should behave. But the thing that most interested Kelsen and Hart and Raz and others since about Bentham was not what he thought about what judges should do, which was frankly very oversimplified, but what he said about law, about the very idea of law that is made by human beings, and that there's nothing in the law that isn't. Now, he thought,
which is obviously false, isn't it?
Well, I don't think it's false, I think it's true.
And you were saying Aquinas thought it, and you thought when you said it, I would agree, because I usually agree with Aquinas.
Yes, but I don't want to get into a struggle about Aquinas. You know much more about Aquinas than I do.
Forget Aquinas.
Yeah.
But that plausible sounding thought, which I had myself seemed perhaps to articulate in my first speech, isn't really true. That there's no law that's not humanly made. In the strong sense of made, that's to say, valid just because it's been said.
Said or done. It doesn't have to be uttered, or it doesn't have to be intentional either, so we can have accidentally made law. But it has to be made.
Where's the has to come from? Is that made? Is that
no, that's part of the nature of law. I mean, the nature of law is humanly made, but the nature of law isn't humanly made, because if the nature of law were humanly made, it would have to be humanly made that law is humanly made. And that really we couldn't tolerate. That would be a sort of philosophical disaster. Into a terrible regress. No, it's part of the way law is, and what distinguishes law from various other normative systems and from some families of norms that are not systems at all, that laws are humanly made. And to get back to Bentham for a minute, Bentham had a go at explaining what laws were such that they were all humanly made. And he explained that they were commands, and they were backed up by threats and so on. Actually, it was a lot more subtle than that. He had some interesting things to say that, he mentioned some counterexamples and so on, but we're taking now the Austinian, thinned down version of Bentham's thought. They're commands and they're backed up by the threat of sanctions. And this was a stab at refining the idea that the laws were humanly made, and it had lots of flaws in it, and some people were interested in what the flaws were and tried to understand more precisely why laws weren't all commands and why they weren't all backed up by the threats of sanctions. And ended this by finding counterexamples.
Is it part of